there's this old Taoist symbol, yin and yang symbol, eh? So there's a black serpent, and it has a white dot in it, and there's a white serpent, and it has a black dot in it, and they're tail to tail. And that whole symbol is Tao. And Tao means a bunch of things. It means potential. It means the way of life. So to live in Tao is to live in the proper manner. And you kind of live on the border between the black serpent and the white serpent. And then you say, well, what are those two things? Well, they're the two ultimate categories of reality, yin and yang. Well, how would you translate that into English? Well, masculine, feminine, that's one translation. But a better one, I would say, is order and chaos. You say, well, what's order and what's chaos? Well, order is when you're where what you're doing is producing what you want to have happen. Okay, so why is that orderly? It's because you can predict it. You do A, and you want B to happen, and B happens. So what does that mean? It means you know where you are, you know what you're doing, and things are working. And then you're calm, because there's nothing to be nervous about, and you're moderately happy, because you're getting what you need and want. And there's evidence that you are competent, because that's why things are working. That's order. Now, everyone knows that order can be shattered into disorder at the drop of a hat. You can be walking down the street and you're all happy and you're with your partner and, you know, she makes a mistake and steps off the curb and a bus hits her. It's like in 1 second you are not anymore in order. Like the bottom has fallen out of your life. And that's why there's a black dot in the white serpent. It's like, orderly as it is, look the hell out, because your life can be flipped upside down in a moment.
Right.
Okay. Well, then sometimes you're in a dire state and everything looks absolutely hopeless and you get a new realization and bang, you know, everything snaps together. And so that's when you're in chaos and order can reveal itself. Okay, so order and chaos. You can think about it as the ice that you skate on with the water below. That's another way of thinking about it. Now you say, well, is that real? Is it really that the world is made out of order and chaos? Well, here's something weird. You have two hemispheres, right? And hypothetically, they were selected by the processes of natural evolution, right? They were selected by reality. Well, you have a right hemisphere and a left hemisphere. So it's kind of like, well, reality must have two elements, because why would you need two hemispheres otherwise? And they do have relatively separate consciousnesses, those two hemispheres. You think, well, okay, we've been selected to have this bifurcated view of reality. Well, what are they specialized for? Turns out the left hemisphere is specialized for those places where your routines work. That's the left hemisphere. And the right hemisphere is specialized for all those places you go when you don't know what you're doing. So the left hemisphere is specialized for order, and the right hemisphere is specialized for chaos. And so then you might think, well, does that mean that the world being is really made out of order and chaos? It's like, well, if you use the Darwinian logic, that's what it means. Okay, so what does meaning signify? Well, here's what it is, as far as I can tell. So imagine that you're watching a gymnast, and two gymnasts. We'll start with the first one. And the gymnast pops out on the floor and does her routine, and she's like, she's on it, man. Like, you can tell this girl has put her 50,000 hours in, and every single thing, impossible thing she does in succession is flawless, right? And at the end, she, you know, what would you say?
Voila.
Displays herself to the crowd, right? And the crowd is like, wow, that's so impressive, because they think, wow, she's human and look what humans can do. And isn't that so cool? And they're so thrilled. And, you know, the judges go 9.8, 9.8, 9.8. It's like, because I think it's 10 points for gymnasts. And it's like, well, now what does the next gymnast do? Because how do you top perfection, right? Because you can't. But that's not true. You can. So the next gymnast comes out, and she goes through her routine too, and it's perfect, but it's more than perfect, because you can see that with every bloody move she makes, she's pushing herself right to the ragged edge of disaster. Like she's risking the performance of her life, and that means she's risking a big mistake, because you risk that when you do the performance of your life, and you can just see her straining. It's like when you hear a great violinist or a great guitarist play something, and they bend and twist all the notes, so they're kind of rough and ragged, and they know how to do it perfectly, and they put this vicious edge on it. It's like, you just love that. And so the gymnast is out there just stretching herself right to the limit of her ability, right? And then she does voila, right? And she's sweating, and it's like triumph, and the whole damn crowd just leaps to their feet, because she was better than perfect. She was perfect in the way that will make her more perfect in the future. And that's meaningful. And that's why the crowd leaps to its feet. And she's on that border between chaos and order.